Candace Owens has just come forward with a significant claim. She says Meghan's pregnancy story does not make sense. And the truth, she says, has been right in front of us all along. But here is the part that changes everything. This is not just Candace talking. This time, someone from inside Portland Hospital, the exact place Meghan says she gave birth, has quietly shared details that were never supposed to leave that building. Details that tear apart the perfect story. And once you hear them, you will start to understand why so many people are now asking the same question. What really happened the night Archie was born? Welcome to Royal Report Daily, your most trusted source for breaking royal news and exclusive investigations. Tonight we are going inside the birth story that has never quite added up, examining the medical claims, the hospital details, the royal protocol gaps, and the small contradictions that individually might mean nothing but together form a pattern impossible to ignore. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Report Daily and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single update. Let us go back to the beginning so you can understand everything clearly. Remember Harry's book Spare? It was supposed to be raw and honest, a peek behind palace walls. But hidden inside all the feelings and family revelations was one sentence that quietly set off alarm bells among medical professionals everywhere. Meghan had 2 epidurals, gave birth at Portland Hospital, and they were home at Frogmore Cottage within 2 hours. 2 hours? To most people, that sounds fast. To anyone who has ever had a baby, that sounds difficult to believe. But to medical workers and hospital insiders, that timeline is not just suspicious. It is, according to those familiar with how Portland Hospital operates, medically impossible. Let us break it down simply. Portland Hospital to Frogmore Cottage is approximately a 1-hour drive on a good day. So if they were home 2 hours after the birth, that means the birth happened. Meghan recovered from not 1 but 2 epidurals. Doctors checked the mother, nurses checked the baby, discharge papers were completed, bags were packed, security was organized, and then they drove an hour home, all within 60 minutes. Medical professionals who reviewed this timeline have said it simply does not work. It is not medically safe. It is not consistent with standard hospital discharge procedures for any patient, let alone a high-profile new mother who had reportedly experienced significant complications. Stay tuned to Royal Report Daily. We bring you the stories that matter. And the epidural detail makes the story even more puzzling. An epidural is not something administered twice like ordering a second cup of tea. When a woman receives one, a tiny catheter tube is placed carefully into the spine. Once that tube is in place, doctors simply adjust the dosage through that same line. Stronger, softer, higher amount, lower amount. All controlled from one insertion point. For Meghan to have had 2 epidurals, as Harry claims in his memoir, a doctor would have needed to remove the first tube, start the entire spinal procedure again, insert a new tube, test its placement, and monitor her closely, all during active labor. Medical professionals note this almost never happens, and when it does, it requires additional paperwork, specialist involvement, and extended monitoring. Yet Harry describes it in his memoir as casually as if it were a minor footnote in an otherwise pleasant evening. Then comes the laughing gas detail. Harry shares what he presents as a funny moment about accidentally breathing in the laughing gas meant for Meghan. But real hospitals do not leave laughing gas equipment sitting around unattended. It is kept controlled, labeled, and administered only under nursing supervision. If a patient's partner had genuinely emptied the tank, that would not be a charming anecdote. That would be a documented safety incident requiring formal reporting. Yet in Harry's version, no nurse intervened, no protocol was triggered, and the scene reads more like a comedy sketch than a carefully managed high-risk birth in one of Britain's most prestigious private maternity hospitals. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to Royal Report Daily for more exclusive investigations. And this is where things become genuinely puzzling. Because when a detailed account gets basic medical facts wrong, it forces serious people to ask whether these were innocent misrememberings or whether they are signs of a story that was constructed rather than lived. When Harry describes the birth environment, dim candles, a warm glowing room, a birthing ball, a spa-like tub, soft and peaceful, experienced maternity, professionals note that this description does not match the clinical, environment required for a patient who has received 2 epidurals and is experiencing a high-risk labor. High-risk births require bright lighting, continuous monitoring equipment, quick access to medical tools, and specialists standing by. Candles and birthing balls are associated with low-intervention natural births, not with the heavily medicated, complicated delivery Harry describes. Now let us look at the hospital itself. Portland Hospital is one of the most private and prestigious maternity hospitals in the country. But here is what most people do not know from the magazine covers. Portland is not a general emergency hospital. It has no emergency room, no large trauma center, no busy public ER. It is a specialist facility handling complex maternal care and newborn emergencies. When situations exceed what they can manage internally, their procedure is clear: rapid transfer to a larger facility. Sources familiar with Portland's operations have noted that the casual, wellness spa atmosphere Harry describes in his memoir does not match how the hospital manages patients who have received epidurals, who are classified as high risk or who are experiencing any form of complication. According to those familiar with the facility, there is also no secret elevator, no hidden royal escape route, and no special private exit used exclusively for high-profile patients. Standard discharge procedures apply to everyone, including royalty. Don't miss a single update. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily right now. Now let us turn to the royal protocol questions, because these are perhaps the most significant gaps of all. No institution in the world uses formal rules and procedures the way the British royal family does. Everything is scheduled. Everything is recorded. And when a royal woman goes into labor, the protocol is clear and historically consistent. The sovereign must be informed immediately. This is not tradition for the sake of tradition. It is official royal procedure followed for Princess Diana, Princess Catherine, and every senior royal birth in living memory. The birth of a child in the line of succession is a national event, not just a family moment. It is recorded with precision. Timelines matter, witnesses matter, paperwork matters. But sources who examined what happened with Meghan's birth have noted something unusual. The Queen was apparently not informed in the standard manner. No royal alert, no immediate official notification through established channels. If Meghan was truly in labor at Portland Hospital under royal protection, then someone apparently set aside centuries of established protocol to keep the sovereign out of the standard loop. And that raises an obvious and important question. Why would royal staff ignore a rule book that has governed every senior royal birth for generations, unless the situation did not match what those established procedures were designed for? Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and stay ahead of every royal development. And while these procedural gaps were appearing, Meghan's own public explanations for the departure from standard royal birth procedure shifted in ways that left observers confused. When asked why the press was not notified through the standard royal channels, Meghan did not give one consistent explanation. She gave several. First, she said she did not want to block an emergency entrance at the hospital. But Portland Hospital does not have a public emergency entrance in the conventional sense. Then she explained the press did not deserve the standard photo opportunity because of what she described as racist treatment. A deeply emotional reason, but entirely different from the first one offered. And then a third version emerged, suggesting they had told the press and the press simply did not show up. 3 different reasons for one moment. 3 explanations that point in different directions. And none of them entirely match the established protocol through which royal birth announcements are traditionally made. Through official palace channels, not through press attendance or absence. When a single documented event has multiple shifting explanations, it raises questions about which version, if any, reflects what actually happened. Hit that like button and subscribe to Royal Report Daily right now. Now let us address the medical context that makes all of this even more complicated. When doctors noted that Meghan was in her late 30s when Archie was born, the clinical picture shifted. Because medically, a pregnancy over the age of 35 falls into a category that requires additional monitoring, more frequent scans, closer supervision, and detailed contingency planning. In other words, the clinical standard of care for a mother in this category does not typically include the relaxed, softly lit wellness center atmosphere Harry describes in his memoir. The description Harry provides, dim candles, peaceful surroundings, a birthing ball, a warm tub, is associated with low-risk natural births where medical intervention is minimal and the environment is designed to feel calm and unhurried. But Harry simultaneously describes 2 epidurals, a major medical intervention, and mentions pre-eclampsia. Pre-eclampsia is not a gentle condition. It is a serious and unpredictable pregnancy complication that can cause organ failure and in severe cases is life-threatening. The standard medical response to pre-eclampsia involves immediate intervention, continuous blood pressure monitoring, magnesium sulfate treatment, and extended hospital stays under close supervision. One source familiar with pre-eclampsia care at private hospitals described her own experience. Blood pressure spiking to alarming levels. Medical staff responding immediately, treatment administered intravenously, continuous hourly monitoring under bright clinical lights, and a hospital stay measured in days, not hours. The contrast between that clinical reality and the 2-hour timeline Harry describes, combined with Meghan's documented international travel, long-haul flights, red carpet appearances, and public engagements in the weeks immediately following Archie's birth, has prompted medical professionals to note that the pace and nature of her visible recovery does not align with what is typically observed following either a high intervention, birth, or a pre-eclampsia episode requiring serious medical management. Royal Report Daily, bringing you the truth behind every royal headline. And then there are the smaller details, the ones that individually might seem trivial, but together contribute to the broader pattern of questions. Harry describes slipping out at 2 in the morning to collect Nando's chicken for the hospital room. But sources familiar with Portland Hospital's facilities note that the hospital provides 24-hour private dining services. Meals can be ordered at any hour through the hospital's kitchen, and Nando's restaurants close well before 2 in the morning. The story, as told, does not quite fit the environment it is set in. The secret elevator Harry references, described as a discreet royal exit route, has also been noted by Portland insiders as not existing in the form he describes. Standard hospital discharge procedures apply regardless of a patient's profile. And perhaps most significantly, the question of which doctor actually delivered Archie has never been definitively settled in the public record. Media outlets reported one physician's name for months before that information was disputed. Some publications were required to issue corrections after failing to independently verify who was present. Uncertainty around the attending physician at a royal birth, an event that should be meticulously documented, is an unusual gap in the official record. Don't miss a single update. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily right now. Every story Meghan and Harry shared about Archie's birth was framed in warmth and intimacy. Candles glowing, soft light, a magical experience that felt personal and deliberately protected. It sounded like a carefully curated memory, a fairy tale constructed to be both moving and just private enough that the details could not easily be challenged. But fairy tales only work when no one looks carefully at the details. Because when you examine them, the impossible 2-hour timeline, the medically unusual description of 2 epidurals, the laughing gas incident, the royal protocol gaps, the mismatch between a high-risk birth and a wellness spa atmosphere, the pre-eclampsia claim alongside a rapid international travel schedule, the secret elevator that does not exist, the restaurant that was closed, the shifting explanations, the unverified physician. All of these pieces form a pattern that medical professionals, royal protocol experts, and investigative journalists have found difficult to dismiss. This is not about gossip. This is not about personal dislike or political agenda. This is about a story that was told one way, and that, when examined carefully through the lens of medical reality, established royal procedure and verifiable institutional fact, raises questions that have never been directly or satisfactorily answered. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and stay connected. And as more details continue to surface, as more insiders speak quietly from the edges of this story, one question grows louder with each new piece of information that does not quite fit the official account. If this part of Meghan's story contains details that medical professionals say do not align with clinical reality, what else in the carefully curated Sussex narrative was never quite meant to be examined this closely? The truth does not disappear. It waits, it pushes forward, and sooner or later, it demands to be seen. This has been Royal Report Daily, bringing you the complete truth behind the most important royal stories of 2026. If this investigation raised questions you had not considered before, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Share this video with everyone who is following this extraordinary story. Turn on your notifications so you are always the first to know when we publish our next exclusive report. Because the questions surrounding Archie's birth story have never been more pressing, and Royal Report Daily will keep asking them until they are answered. Stay informed, stay connected, and we will see you in our next report.